Boy oh boy oh boy! Thanks to the Switch events in New York and Tokyo this weekend, we've been getting loads of new footage for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild running on the brand new system. Safe to say, our hype is at an all-time high since both the game and the console come out in less than 6 weeks. So let's celebrate by taking a look at just how better Breath of the Wild is on the Nintendo Switch, and if it is indeed worth it to play on this new console instead of the Wii U like we originally intended years ago. It's important to note firsthand that the changes represented in this version of the game may not be exclusive to the Switch. The Wii U footage goes back over 6 months to E3 2016, so it's probable that Nintendo made some changes since then to the graphics and performance. Take this beginning shot, for example, of Link waking up in the Resurrection Shrine. You could argue that it looks better on the Switch, but the main difference here is the color palette and lighting. The Wii U is rocking a very blue tint that is dimly lit, while the Switch has more saturated colors and is brighter. We expect that this color difference was also made to the Wii U. We can also see when the doors open that the Switch version is rocking some mighty fine particles to add to the realism that the Zelda franchise is oh so famously known for. Everything else outside the Resurrection Shrine looks to be improved on the Switch, and we don't see it getting any better on Wii U. The Wii U version of Breath of the Wild runs at 720p, while the Switch version runs at 900p docked and 720p undocked, although we assume it will upscale to 1080p in docked mode. You will notice that the game does look sharper on the Switch thanks to its higher resolution textures and better anti-aliasing. Not to mention the draw distance has been vastly improved. The Wii U is loaded with fog to mask its insecurities, but the Switch shows off her curves loud and proud. But it still runs into the problem of items and foliage appearing later than expected. Obviously, the Switch is the better looking of the two, but the graphics haven't been improved to the point where the difference is night and day. Whenever we would bring up Breath of the Wild on Switch or NX in the past, we would always talk about how cartridges would significantly improve performance of the game with faster loading times. And thankfully, we were correct. Thanks to this video by Raw Gent Productions, we can see that the Switch version takes about 2 to 3 seconds to load this scene. That would take the Wii U about 12. Then this comparison from Hypertonic shows the game loading screens take 13 seconds on Switch and 29 seconds on Wii U. Oh my word, you just can't even compete with the Switch! And since the Switch is the more powerful console, we can also see a boost in performance. While the frame rate for the Wii U demo had its issues, it's still possible that that version has been improved since then. But for now, all we know is that Breath of the Wild has a glorious frame rate on the Nintendo Switch, maintaining a steady 30 frames per second. It's not perfect though. Digital Foundry did find an instance or two where it would dip to the low 20s, but they were significantly less frequent than they were in the Wii U demo. Ironically enough, some reports have stated that the game runs better when it's undocked. This might have to do with the game running at 720p during that time, but it's still great nonetheless. Speaking of greatness, I seriously can't stop watching this handheld playthrough! It's so good! Speaking of that though, the Switch's battery will last about 3 hours on a full charge if you're playing Breath of the Wild on it. If you think this is a deal breaker, it shouldn't be. I mean, where the hell are you going that warrants playing a game for 3 hours straight with no interruptions? If your answer is a plane trip or road trip, your solution would be to buy a USB-C cord and a portable charger that you would normally use for a cell phone, and boom, problemo solved. The file size for the game comes in at 13.4 gigabytes, which is a lot smaller than most other open world games, but it's also roughly 40% of the Switch's default storage space of 32 gigabytes. Unless you plan to buy the game digitally, then this shouldn't be a problem because cartridges do not need to be installed. We also don't know if the game being installed will affect the performance, but since cartridges are so well built, we can't recommend enough that you run your Switch games on them. They're just objectively better than discs. Nintendo was still aboard the Amiibo hype train, announcing 2 new Amiibo for Breath of the Wild, being a Bokoblin and Zelda herself. It is unknown what these Amiibo do so far, but you'll be able to scan them on the Switch and Wii U. And we hope you got that Master Edition because we sure as hell didn't. We were going to unbox it on the show too, but when Nintendo says limited edition, they mean limited edition. This set comes with a map of Hyrule, a Sheikah token which I already got at E3, a soundtrack CD, a carrying case for your Switch, and most importantly, a statue of the Master Sword of Resurrection. Nintendo decided it would be a good idea though to stock them in an extremely limited fashion online. Oh well. Guess we're just going to have to stick with the special edition, which comes with everything except the statue. It's too bad Europe only gets the limited edition that comes with sword and CD, that you also can't find apparently. Now let's get to the good stuff. The new content that was revealed in the game. Even though players had to stick to the Great Plateau, a Nintendo guide could show them the outside of the plateau in a guided segment where they would tame a horse, register it at a stable, and try and unsuccessfully kill a guardian. There's also a new HUD feature we suspect will be in the Wii U version with shifting weather patterns along with time. But the most important feature covered was riding on horseback. It looks like taming a horse in this game will be easier than it was in, say, Red Dead Redemption, but it depends on the horse. Sometimes Link will successfully land on a horse and begin riding it. Other times he'd have to put in some work. He'll have to keep soothing the horse if he wants it to cooperate. Remember that screenshot from a couple weeks ago? That wasn't a shop. That was a stable that doubles as an inn, where Link can register not one, but multiple horses, each with their own stats being strength, speed, stamina, and temperament. The more tempered the horse, the better it will be, and the harder it is to catch. The new horse features are cool and all, but we will always miss Epona. Sure, you can find any horse and name it Epona, but it's just not the same! So with Breath of the Wild being one of the very few launch titles on the Nintendo Switch, is it enough to justify the console purchase alone, especially with it being on the Wii U the same day? We know there are going to be a boatload of Nintendo fans willing to shell out the dough to play the best version of the game, but is it enough? As proven by the 3DS, you don't need to have a successful launch to be a successful console. And a game like Breath of the Wild, which has the potential to be Game of the Year status, is always a perfect addition to a launch lineup. And you can never come out with all your best games on day one. Even so, there will be more games announced between now and the Switch launch, so the lineup could change anytime soon. Either way, we have our Switches pre-ordered and we know what version of Breath of the Wild we'll be playing. There is so much more to talk about with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on both Switch and the Wii U, and luckily we have an analysis video that is an hour-and-a-half long. So grab some popcorn and watch Conrad team up with Zeltic and Music Proposition's Reuven Wegner as they go over the trailer, some footage, and more. In the meantime, we thank you for watching this latest episode of Inside Breath of the Wild on the Switch Changes. Stay tuned for more content later this week. Until then, this has been the Commonwealth Realm, and we will see you, girls and guys, soon. Hey guys, I just would like to apologize for my behavior during the stream the other night during the Switch presentation. A lot of us were really hyped, a lot of us were ecstatic, a lot of us were sleep deprived, so it was very easy to lose track of basically our behavior during that whole thing. But yeah, I was of course the loudest, with my stream being 10 seconds behind, so that was frustrating. We didn't really see anything. None of us really felt like we were being attacked. It just was what it was, but I know a lot of you didn't really like what I was doing, so I promise I'll never do that again in any future streams. But if any of us ever screw up like that again, just remember to be respectful about it.